I have a Losi Tenacity TT Pro SET. So this is their short course truck. It's a 4-wheel drive short course truck. It's a very nice short course truck for price point. It's probably something I'd recommend getting if someone is looking into a nice short course but doesn't really quite want to invest in a Techno SET 410.3. This would be a less expensive option. It's very durable, comes with a brace here and then 2 diagonal braces in here. This belongs to my buddy Rod. You can follow him on Instagram at RodsReelsRCs. And today I got this roller from him to kind of take a look at it. I'm going to do just a small little wipe down because we're going to run and get it dirty again. But we'll do a breakdown, check the gears, make sure everything's in good condition. And right now I'm going to unmate the front. So to unmate the front, you have a variety of screws here in the front. You have a total of 5 visible screws here. Since this was partially disassembled, there's a hole right here, but I think that's to access the steering bell crank. Now, this is one of the nice things about this truck, that it comes with this chassis brace out of the box. This is stock. It's a stock brace, I should say. Traxxas Slash, for example, you can get an Ultimate. They are very, very cool trucks. But by the time you finish upgrading everything, it's going to be a fortune. You would have been better off probably purchasing one of these trucks if your ultimate goal is really hard bashing. Now for these 2 front screws, your driver is going to enter at a slight angle, as you can see, but you can access those 2 screws. The other option would be to remove the shock tower, and to remove the shock tower, it's quite easy. It's only 4 screws, as you will see once I get to the front end disassembly. Now this one's covered in dirt, so let me go ahead and grab my pick, if I can find it, as I probably placed it somewhere else, which I tend to do that. Here we go. But one of the nice things about this truck is you get an aluminum chassis, which is great. You get the aluminum shock tires, again, fabulous. Carbon fiber is very good as well, but these aluminum ones work great. And the shocks and shock bodies are awesome. So you're not going to find very many upgrades for this truck, such as a Slash, for example, a Slash 4-wheel drive. But then again, you don't need them. Or it's not that you don't need upgrades, it's just everything that you're spending to upgrade that other truck is pretty much to put it on par with something like this. Still, they're both good trucks depending on what you're looking for. And that's something that you have to consider. Now with these trucks, one of the things that you do get if you run them enough is you are going to get a little more wear on the front shafts. And that's just because of the angle. This one's relatively straight, but this one goes at an angle. That's the reason why. So in order for them to fit the servo here on this side, to allow for the electronics to sit over here, well, the ESC goes over here. Actually, I wonder if I can place that. It's too big. That's probably because we're overpowering this thing. So the stock electronics are not going to go back in this truck. I will be replacing the servo on this vehicle at some point. Here we go, one more screw. So we have these 4 right here, and the brace holds everything together. It holds the front differential to the center differential to the rear differential. So it holds all of those gearboxes together. Let's go ahead and turn around. now we have a screw right over here. It's this one. And that should be the last one for the brace. I think I'm gonna have to take the wheel off. Oh, I don't have to, it would be better. I'll take the wheels off camera. So for the wheels, you just need a nut driver. Yeah, so it's probably a 5.5. There we go. So it's a 5.5 nut driver on that end. And there it is. So now I can just go ahead and push and then pull. Alright, so I have all the screws for the brace on this side. And brace just comes right off, and this is it. Now, this is a plastic brace. If they made a carbon fiber brace, it would probably be better. The only issue with having aluminum braces, when aluminum bends, that's it, it's done. There's no fixing it. This brace, you can see how it's sort of warped. I mean, this truck's been used. So the brace really helps. Without the brace, all of that impact, this probably would have broken. That could have fallen off or bent. So the brace really does help, but a thicker brace would be helpful, even if it were a plastic one. But that is all we need. Now, the center brace here, this one, I'm calling it a center brace, the one that goes to the chassis to the front, to this brace, that one is just that screw here on top and then 2 screws at the bottom. I will not be removing it, but if we were to flip the truck over, you're looking at these 2 screws. So you just remove those, and that is all you need. Now for the battery mount, you just remove these screws right over here. So you have these, and then the rear, and that will remove this and this. But I'm gonna leave that there. Right now, I want to separate the front end. Now, one of the things with the front ends that you want to be careful with is not losing these bearings. So I will be removing this, wiping it off, and then I'll assemble everything. But in order to remove the steering mechanism, you can do one of 2 things. You can either turn the wheel, remove the screw here, or you can remove your wheels and remove the screw here. It just depends on where do you want the links. I'm gonna take this one off right here. Now, another recommendation, whenever you run your vehicles in a moist environment, say you run them in water, mud, I mean, as you can see, there's a lot of dirt, so it's probably muddy. Make sure that, one, you get all that stuff off. I mean, you can use water, that's fine. But then after that, use some type of lubricant, such as WD-40. The silicone-based WD-40 is great. I have no idea why I started disassembling this. Actually, I do know why, and that's because I'm not looking at it from the top. So let's go there. All right. Here we go. And there's that screw. All right. So now the links should be off. What's wrong with this link? All right, there we go. We have those 2 links. Now we can go ahead and, I'm gonna leave this link on the servo horn. So for the servo horn, you have a screw from the bottom, goes to the top. This is loose. All right, this was not tightened. I did not install this, somebody else did. My buddy's gonna watch these videos after. He's gonna see everything that happened. Oh, I think this was just put there temporarily. That's probably why. All right, so we just went ahead and removed that. I'll go ahead and place the screw here just so I don't lose it. The servo will come out in a bit, but let's go ahead and lift. So if you lift this, just make sure to take the bearings with you, unless they're hard to get out. But here we go. Okay, so the bearings are there. Oh, these are brass bushings. So you actually get brass bushings with this truck. I would strongly recommend, yeah, these are all bushings. I would strongly recommend getting ball bearings. It's night and day. Steering, ball bearings are just amazing. You don't have to go with really expensive bearings. If you want to invest in ceramic bearings, that's fine. But you know, just regular ball bearings, it'll be a night and day difference. All right, so now the next step, we can leave these posts on. The screws are at the bottom if you really want to remove them. That's if you bent one, and it would be these two screws right here. For now, what I want to do is unmate the front end. So for the front end, I'm gonna need a 2.5 millimeter driver. So far, I've only been using a 2 millimeter driver. Now I'm gonna use a 2.5, and I'm gonna be removing these 4 screws. And here we go. But these arms, these are actually very robust arms. If I had the slash arms here on the table, I would go ahead and compare them. But you would notice that there's far more material here, more intricate design. They're reinforced. These arms are quite stronger. If you have a Traxxas vehicle, you really want those winter arms, or the winter plastics. I believe they call them the heavy duty arms. But these arms work. You would not need to upgrade them. That's why some people will say, well, you know, Traxxas is great because you can get all these RPM parts. Well, this one doesn't need them. So that's something to consider as well. All right, so now this will just pop up, right? You just have to pop this off. And here is the front end. So I'll put the front end right here off to the side. And I will go ahead and take the shaft, place the shaft there. Servo, pretty easy, just those 4 screws, the servo will come out. Just remember, 2 millimeter driver, just remember the servo orientation, so it goes toward the back. We'll go ahead and remove this since I have to replace the servo anyway. He's going to put the servo on something else. The servo is good. This is a Savox 1257 TG. Now TG with Savox, you will have different servos. You will have an MG, that stands for metal gears. So you're going to get a combination of brass gears and non-brass. Those I would say are good for light applications. Then you can get the TG, those are titanium gears. Now the tensile strength is not as much as the steel gears. I do recommend the steel gears for bashing, and that's going to be the SG for steel gears. I have never had an issue with Savox servos. Now, sometimes you will find Savox servos to be about the same price as the Protex, sometimes a little less expensive. Go whichever one you want. Lately I've been using Protec as well. And the Protex seem to run a little cooler than the Savox. It could just be my imagination, but that's something to consider. But as of now, I've not had a major failure with either one. The only thing that has happened is with the metal gears, I've broken those. That's one of the reasons why I'm recommending steel on the Savox. Alright, servo is out. Now, if you want to remove this, it's just 4 screws on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is it. Now, transmission mount is currently loose, not a big deal. But we're going to go ahead and remove, now, it was already missing these screws for some reason, but I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 screws. These 2 screws will drop the rest of the transmission. So I'm not sure what happened to this one, or if that's even oh, that's not even a screw for the transmission. Interesting, there's only 2 screws. So the center diff is held by these 2 screws on the chassis and the 4 screws on the top brace. I was expecting there to be 4 for the transmission on the bottom, but I guess you don't need 4 on the bottom since you have 4 on the top. And that will hold it. So I'm going to catch the transmission. Alright, let's place these screws over here. And there we go. So now the transmission is out. And we'll keep that over here. I will have to replace some parts. Well, the spurs all chewed up. All right, here we go. Now when we removed the brace, we also loosened this, so there's nothing holding this. If you want to remove this part, it's just 2 screws on the bottom, 1, 2, and that brace will come off once you take that screw off. That was that long screw with the nut. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and flip this over, and I just have to remove these 4 screws. So I'm back to that 2.5 millimeter driver. Usually on 10 scale trucks, which if you think about it, 10 scale trucks, well, not all trucks, I should say short course trucks. 10 scale short course trucks are about the size of a 1/8 scale buggy. They will generally use this size screw to hold the differentials in place. So you'll get used to, if this is your first time doing a teardown, you'll get used to the sizes. The 2 most common sizes are going to be 2 millimeter, 2.5. Once in a while you'll use a 1.5 millimeter driver. Rarely you will use a 3 millimeter driver on short course. Rarely. I remember that was one of the things when I started driving short course. I found it interesting that the 3 millimeter driver wasn't used at all versus 1/10 scale touring cars. The shocks are generally held by 3 millimeters. Well, the system that they have requires a 3 millimeter driver. And this is it. So yeah, there was a body clip hiding right there. So that is the rear end, so we have that. So here is the chassis. Again, to remove the parts, now here this battery tie has been removed, and the reason why is my buddy loves overpowering things, and the PureTech is a great way to just hold your larger batteries. But this is all you have. For the rails, just remove these screws here, and those screws there, and your rails will come out. Battery mounting system, 3 and 3. Brace going toward the rear, these 2. Brace going to the front, you will have these 2 right here, this one and this one. These 4 hold the servo. These 2 holds the steering post. And I think I covered all the screws. Yes, that was it. So that goes there, battery mounting system, that's it. So this is a chassis. This one I can go ahead and just clean up. I'll be back, and then once I'm back, we're going to do a teardown of the center diff and then rebuild it. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment below, subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My room!